Here's Possess the Promise. This was the first campaign we did to raise funds to move into our very first building.
Yep.
I remember a comment when we said we were building it, we built it, and then we had ordered like 150 chairs because we thought that would be the most we could fit. We really couldn't even fit that many. But someone from the community said, well, how many people are you going to seat? And then, well, we ordered 150 chairs. And they said, you will never, ever have 150 people in an evangelical church in this little town. It'll never happen.
Oh.
You know, this whole journey for me really began as a teenager. I was struggling with so many bad things in my life, so many cultural issues and problems and sins and stuff. And I had this go to Jesus moment where I just knew there was more to life, and I began to cry out and search for God. And it all just happened one night when I was 16. God just really touched my heart and life.
I wanted to walk this life with God, but I did not know how. But I started doing some research on joining the Peace Corps, and that's what I really felt like I was going to do. And then back then we started dating and started talking. All of our dates ended up talking about what God was doing in the world and how we could be a part of it. And I remember one time when we were just talking, Paul said, are you sure you want to join the Peace Corps? Because, you know, if you stayed here and married me, we could do a lot of things together. And I know God could use us together. And that's kind of where our journey together began.
Here's Lee.
Oh,
So
Lee Wine.
When we first started, he was one of the first people we met in the home Bible study. Turned out to be a real mentor and a leader for our whole family. And his family example, his Christian testimony was so powerful. And he was so willing to become a part of our lives and family that our kids ended up calling him Grandpa Lee.
Yeah.
And he was a great inspiration to us.
He's a great man for sure.
So we began Faith Christian Church right here in Mauston. We didn't have a place to meet. We had almost no money. I think we had $400 given to us to start the whole church. It was a beautiful time of seeing children come into families and grow up with God. And it was exciting for us. Looking in from the outside, people would have thought, well, that's a tiny little church with not much room to grow. But it didn't end there.
Oh, here we go. This is a picture of us having some kind of, I think this might just have been the worship team in the basement of the Alaskan.
Oh my goodness.
And that is an old picture.
That's very old. Very old.
Oh. Here's a picture of a bunch of our leaders when we first moved into our very first building. And we always had Lee in there, down in the bottom in the center.
Yes.
So here we have a picture of Rayanne Paulson, much younger Rayanne, like we were much younger, and she faithfully served all these years. That was beautiful. Here's a picture of a few of our buildings. Look at, there's the picture of it's now the John Deere implement over by the post office, but that's the first building we actually rented. And then we have a picture of our first building, and then we have a picture of the second building.
Oh my gosh.
We had an opportunity to buy some land. We felt like, whoa, we're going to do this thing. You know, we had 7 acres of land. We put a sign out front, the triangle sign that's still up on our lawn. The basis of that we put up on a Good Friday one day on our land and said, we're going to do it. And it took several years, but then we ended up building our first building.
When it was all done, it looked all brand new and pretty. Now it's just part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
This is the sign we built. I remember building that on a Good Friday. All we had was the land, but we thought, you know, we don't have any money, but we can build a sign. And and that sign, at least the posts and frame are still there.
It was during the time of that first building that our kids and a lot of the children of the church began to grow up and kind of come into their own. And God began to do some really neat things.
This was a deal. A lot of people's lives were really turned around. They got baptized, and a couple of them are part of our family now. Rebecca Shurik and Becca Dawson had tremendous changes in their lives.
Wasn't Jenny at that one too?
All three of those girls had just a real turnaround in their lives. That was awesome.
Very cool.
That began a whole program that we were able to help so many people get into ministry. And to date, I think we've ordained as an organization at least 18 of them into ministry. And they're serving all over the place, some of them right here in our church, some of them in other countries, other churches, other positions. And only God really could do that. But that all happened in that little building. And then we moved into this one.
And here it is. I was looking for this. This is our Home for the Harvest. Once we got our first building up, we really felt like God wanted us to build again.
Yeah.
And so we started this program we called Home for the Harvest. And that really propelled us into building our next building. And that was a big deal, a big step. It was really big and a little daunting at first, but now we're in it and have gone past. So that's really cool.
Yes, it is really cool.
When we moved into this building, it really moved us into a new phase. And I guess what that phase was mostly noted for is the fact that we worked really hard at moving the next generation of our church family into positions of leadership and ministry.
Oh, this was one of our first KSOs that we did.
I think so.
Yeah, in our old building.
Yep. That thing is filled with kids. It was
Oh my
just
gosh.
full. This is a beautiful picture of one of our Crave Youth Conferences, and it
Oh,
really,
look at that.
look at that thing, just jammed with young
Oh my
people
gosh.
worshiping God. How cool is that?
What-
What a privilege.
What a God thing.
Yeah, to be able to see God just fill the building with young, hungry souls and coming to Jesus every year. That's such a highlight.
We've seen so many people come to Christ and
So
be
exciting.
baptized and grow. The joy of that was just watching so many other people take active roles in ministry, people grow, and new things happen. But again, we found ourselves in a spot where, we have really cool things happening, we have really great people, but we don't have space to do what we really want to do. And that led us to building on again this new children's wing.
I love my church, and that's what we did when we decided we needed to build on a children and youth wing on our building, and we're walking that out right now. It was so cool
We
to see.
are.
Last Sunday they had the youth community night, and that thing was full
It's
of
full,
people.
yes.
Full, and so thankful that God allowed us to build.
Thinking about the real turning points of ministry, you begin with almost nothing and a handful of people, and now you're looking at ministering to hundreds of people a week. When we built our first building, that really probably, initially we doubled in size, and so many more people in the community felt like they knew who we were, they could come to church. It was an open invitation. And during that time, some of the other events would have been the Team Impact Outreach that we had at the high school, all those people coming to Christ. So many of them ended up here in church. Some of the outreaches we had, like the tent meetings and the special outreaches, the things that we did really were pivotal in opening a door for new people to come. And then there were some of those families from the beginning where, right in the beginning, we got to preach to them in a small room, and they gave their life to Christ, and then they got married, and then they had children. So we did their wedding, and we dedicated their children, and then their children grew up and got baptized, and we baptized their children. Those children grew up and got married. We married them. They had children. We dedicated their children. It's just an amazing privilege to see that God wants churches to be long-lasting and to minister to many generations.